Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So I'm back with another recent reads and I'm really excited about this one because I have two 5-star reads that I'm really excited to talk about. One of them I have not talked about yet on my channel, and then another one, it was a part of another video, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I of course also have just a wide variety of ratings, so we will go ahead and get started. So a book that I want to quickly mention, this is Tender Beast by Lizelle Sandberry. I actually rated this one 2 stars. I talked about this book in great length in my YA horror books by Black authors, so I will have that video linked down below in case you guys are curious to know my full thoughts. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. I gave this 2 stars. Check out that video if you want to know more. So jumping into my other books, the first one that we're gonna start with is my DNF, and that is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This is her new release for this year. It's a adult fantasy, and I did not have a good time with this one. I actually ended up DNFing this pretty early on. So I was at chapter 8, which is page 45. I could just tell very early, clearly, that this was not gonna be the book for me. Now, I was hesitant to even go into this because this is my first book by Leigh Bardugo. I have not read like her Grishaverse and her Six of Crows. I have not read any of that, but I've heard such good things about her books. However, with this one, it seemed like a lot of people who have liked her previous books, this one did not really work for them. And I don't think this has been like popular among the masses. So I was really hesitant to go into this, but I wanted to try it out. I wanted to try it out during the fall, and like I said, it just did not work for me. I forget who we're even following. We're following this girl, Louisa, and she finds out that she can do magic, and then the woman that she is working for wants her, I think, to like do magic for other people. This was supposed to be set, not supposed to be, it is set in like way back when. I think it says like the Spanish Golden Age. Like, if you didn't tell me that, I don't think I would have known that. Like, you could have told me this story was set anywhere. Whatever the case may be, this one just did not work for me. I kind of had high hopes, like I said, but I went into it a little hesitant, and unfortunately, I just didn't enjoy it. So jumping into my 3-star reads, the first one I have is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clower, I think is how you pronounce that. But this is a adult horror. Now this is one that I was extremely excited about because it has been getting so much hype and everybody has really been loving it. But as you already know, I gave it 3 stars. So in this one, we are following our main character, Eve, and she and her girlfriend have recently like purchased this home so that they can refurbish it. And so one day while Eve is at home by herself, this man, Thomas, and his wife and his 2 or 3 kids, they come to the house, and Thomas is like, hey, I used to live here. I would really like it if you would allow me and my family to take a look around to see what's changed, and so that I can kind of give them some backstory into how I grew up. Eve was very hesitant, as one should be, but she reluctantly agrees, and then the story kind of takes off from there. I'm going to leave it at that because I think it's best to not know a lot going in. So I really liked the premise of this. I really liked the first half of this. It was very twisty. I was actually finding myself getting kind of frustrated with Eve and her just allowing these people to be all up in the house. I did think that some of the scenes in here were extremely creepy and kind of unsettling. I liked how in between chapters, we were getting like these articles and these like news stories and just like different forms of mixed media into what the backstory of this house is and kind of like what's going on. But then the second half of the book kind of fell apart for me. It wasn't as engaging as the first half of the story was. And then it ended in a way that didn't leave me that satisfied because it was kind of open-ended It's left up to your interpretation. And sometimes that really works for me, sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, I kind of really wanted to know like what was going on. But overall, I had a good reading experience with this. It just did not live up to the hype for me, but I did enjoy it. So next up, we have Everyone is a Liar by Liv Constantine. I actually listened to this one. This is a short story. I got a advanced listening copy from Libro FM, so I will have them linked down below if you guys want to check them out, but that's where I got this copy from. And this was a pretty fun ride. It was only like 3 hours and 30 minutes, I think. And so in this one, we're following this couple. The woman finds out that her husband is cheating, so she suggests that they go see this therapist, and then this therapist kind of gets wrapped up into the chaos with this couple, and it kind of takes off from there. I don't want to say more than that. I don't want to like talk about all the characters because it is really short. You can kind of piece it together kind of quickly as you're going along, but it was fun nonetheless. I was able to listen to this in one sitting, and it was really entertaining. Even though I was able to figure out what was going on, it did kind of like keep me on the edge of my seat because I was trying to make sure that I was on the right track, but it was very entertaining. And I have not read anything from this author before, but after listening to the short story, I am intrigued. So my next 3-star read, we have One Day in December by Josie Silver. This was actually recommended, like highly recommended to me by one of my friends. I have tried one of Josie Silver's books last year. I think it was like Christmas in New York, I think, but I ended up DNFing that one. So I was a little scared to go into this one, but this, we are following our main character, Lori. And one day she's riding the bus and the bus stops and she sees this guy like waiting on the side, like at the bus stop. They have like this connection, this instant connection between each other, but the bus pulls off before he is able to jump on and before they're able to chat. For a year, Lori and her friend Sarah have been trying to find this guy. Like Lori is head over heels. She believes she's madly in love with this man and she hasn't been able to find them. One day, her friend Sarah, her best friend in the whole wide world, they're roommates. Her friend Sarah tells her that she wants Lori to meet her new boyfriend. Lo and behold, her new boyfriend is Jack, the guy from the bus stop. And so the story kind of takes off from there. We're following these characters for an extremely long time. It's over a 10-year span. So every few chapters, it's a new year. And we're kind of watching as like this friendship evolves between Lori and Jack. They're trying to like keep their true feelings from each other while also trying to make sure they're not hurting Sarah because Sarah is in the dark. And so it's basically about all three of their relationships. Again, I gave this one 3 stars. I was not the biggest fan of Jack. He was kind of annoying to me. In certain scenes, he was very rude and condescending and just flat out mean. Now, there was one situation that happened that caused him to be that way. But aside from that, that's just how he was. And it was like a huge turnoff for me. Another thing is that I really wanted more of a romance between the two main characters. And instead, this was more of how they were building a friendship and how Lori and Sarah's friendship has like evolved and changed over the years. And then there's a certain point where we're seeing everybody kind of like in and out of different relationships, where I would have wanted to see more of like a spark between Lori and Jack. We got very few scenes with them that shows us how much they're quote unquote in love with each other. Because remember, like they had never met each other, but Lori was like so in love with this man. And so I just didn't really feel that, especially because you didn't know this man before you said that you were in love with him. So I just wish we would have had more scenes with them, more cutesy scenes with them, just something where we're actually seeing them truly fall in love with each other. I did like the end of this, however, but unfortunately, It definitely was better than her other book that I DNF'd, but it's not like an all-time favorite. So another 3-star read that I have is Society of Lies by Lauren Ling Brown. So I actually listened to this one, and this wasn't really one that was like on my radar, but I decided to pick it up because I had started to hear a lot of buzz about it. And so in this, we are following our main character, Maya, and Maya is supposed to be going to her younger sister, Naomi's graduation from Princeton. But when she gets there, she learns that her sister has died under mysterious circumstances. And so Maya is trying to look into her sister's death. We eventually find out through flashback chapters that Naomi was a part of a secret society which may or may not have contributed to her death. We also find out through other flashback chapters that when Maya was younger, she also attended Princeton, and she was also a part of some secret societies, and someone that she used to know died while she was in that society. So the story kind of is just basically about Maya trying to figure out what happened to her sister Naomi, but we're learning all of these other things. Again, I gave this 3 stars. I really like the idea of this taking place at like an Ivy League, a very prestigious Ivy League like Princeton. I like the ideas of like these secret societies. I don't think I said this, but it's a adult mystery. And because this is adult, I just wish that this story would have really gone there with the secret societies, and I wish that it could have gone darker. I did like the 3 timelines. So we followed the sister Naomi's timeline leading up to her death. Then we follow Maya's present timeline. And then we also follow the timeline of Maya back when she was in Princeton. So I liked how we got all of that information and how it kind of like tied together. I liked how it kind of talked about the things that people will do to get into these Ivy Leagues, the things that they are willing to sacrifice to get into these schools, just basically what people will do. And I definitely can believe it. And I also just liked how it kind of tied in how people are treated based off of their race once they get into these Ivy Leagues, because our main characters, they are actually mixed. And so you kind of see how they have a different experience than the other students. So I did like that. Like I said, my biggest problem or my biggest complaint is that I just wish it would have gone a little darker and it was like a little bit more atmospheric. But other than that, I thought this one was fine. My last 3-star read is The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. So this is book 2 in the Housemaid series, her adult mystery thriller series. And this is one of the books that I said that I was trying to get done by the end of the year. I finished it. And so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because it's the second book in the series, in case you have not read the first one. But we're just still following our main character, Millie. She is a housemaid, and now she is working for another family, and some things happened. So do I think that a second book was needed? No. I think The Housemaid was good all on its own. I do not think we needed this. However, I did end up enjoying it. It did take me about halfway through the story before I was actually really invested into the plot. In the beginning, there was just like a lot of stuff happening that was just not relevant. We were talking about characters that didn't end up being relevant. And so it just made the story feel like it was dragging. But once we finally got into the plot, I was hooked, just like I was with The Housemaid. It followed the same formula as The Housemaid. In the first one, I was completely thrown off by like the twists and the reveals, and it was all just very exciting. But in this one, because it followed the same formula, I was able to guess pretty early on exactly what was happening. So nothing was necessarily surprising, but I was entertained. Am I going to go ahead and continue with the next book in the series? Yes. I found out that she has a short story that's also a part of the series, and will I read that? Yes. At this point, I'm invested. I'm just curious to see where else this story could go. But overall, this was enjoyable just like the other book, but not as much. So moving into my 4-star reads. My first one is No Place Left to Hide by Megan Lally. This is a young adult mystery thriller. This is a arc that I received from NetGalley, and it is not released until January 7th, I believe. I will verify that, but I think it's January 7th. So in this, we are following our main character, Brooke. And a while ago, like back over the summer, I think, Brooke is in her last year of high school. And sometime over the summer, there was like this incident that took place at a party that she threw, and people were kind of blaming her for a death that happened at this party. So she has been kind of being harassed for the last few months. And so she doesn't know who's doing the harassing. She is just trying to sweep it under the rug because she has just gotten accepted into an Ivy League, and she's just trying to get out of town. Her best friend ends up convincing her to go to this party. When they're leaving the party, they are then being chased by this unknown person that has been harassing Brooke for all of these months. I really liked this one. I actually really flew through it. So the first book that I read from this author that I read this year, I think it was That's Not My Name. And I thought that one was fine, but this one I enjoyed so much better. There was a lot of action, especially when like they left this party. It was a lot of action that took place in this car. And then I really liked the timeline. So there's a before timeline, and in that timeline, you're getting the events of that party that led up to this death. And so we're then flipping back and forth between then and the present. And I really liked all of the things that kind of like were revealed that took place at this party. I really liked how some characters were really likable in the beginning, and then by the end, you did not like them so much. And then I just liked how it ultimately ended. I thought this was a really, really, really good story. I think it's a really good YA mystery thriller. So if you are into mystery thrillers, I think this is something that you would really enjoy despite it being YA. Now, there is some drama between like teens and all of that. So if that's not your thing, then maybe this won't work for you. But if you're okay with that and you just like a really good story, I think that you will enjoy this one. Please be on the lookout for this in January 2025. So my last 4-star read that I have, and this is an actual surprise for me. So this is The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. This is a adult fantasy, and I think a lot of people would probably categorize this as cozy fantasy. Now, I have not really found any cozy fantasy that I really enjoy. I think a lot of people, when they think of like cozy fantasy, the first one that comes to mind, especially because it's more recent, is Legends and Lattes. And I'm just gonna say, if Legends and Lattes was your vibe, then you might really enjoy this. So in this one, we are following this fortune teller by the name of Tao. And Tao is traveling, telling fortunes, but she only tells small fortunes because she feels like she would cause some harm if she told big fortunes. So she just sticks to the small ones. So while she's out telling her fortune, she actually meets these two guys. One of them is Silk. He is a reformed thief, kinda, and his friend Mash, who is a mercenary. So Mash, his young daughter has actually been kidnapped. And so for the past few months, he has been searching for his daughter. And so Tao kind of like teams up with them, and they're doing some traveling. She's telling her fortunes while they are also trying to look for his daughter. They also come across this baker. She's not a very good baker. I think her name is like Kina, something like that. But they come across this baker. She joins the group, and they're just off on these adventures. I was not a huge fan of Legends and Lattes, specifically because that book just did not have enough plot for me. I just need a little bit more going on than just fluffy characters. In this one, I think there was a good balance of both. I really, really enjoyed these characters. I enjoyed their banter. I just enjoyed watching their friendship grow. There's also a bit of like reconnecting with family, and there's a touch of romance in this as well. And then also we have a plot in this book that I feel like was kind of lacking in Legends and Lattes for me. And so even though it's not like a huge part of the story, there is a plot, and then we also have some side quests that these characters are going on as well. And I think that was the big selling point for me, was that I just like seeing the adventures that these characters were going on. I liked watching them grow, their friendship grow. I liked the way that it ended. It was very satisfying. I think that if you are, again, a cozy fantasy person, then this will definitely work for you. I would highly recommend this. So jumping into my 2 5-star reads, the first one we have is Someone We Know by Sherry Lapina, another adult mystery thriller. I have talked about this one recently in my author highlight for Sherry Lapina, but we're going to talk about it again. So in this, we are following this mother. I forget her name. This mother. She just discovered that her son has been breaking into their neighbors' houses so that he can try to break into like their computer systems just to see, I guess, if he can. And sometimes he will pretend to be whoever's house he broke into. He will pretend to be them and send like messages from their computers. He's really smart, but he was doing some dumb things. So his mother and father have just discovered that that's what he's been doing. However, one of the houses that he has recently broken into, the wife has gone missing, and the story just kind of takes off from there. I have ultimately enjoyed every book that I have read by Sherry Lapina. Out of all the books that I have read from her, this is the only one that has received 5 stars. Just like with all of her other books, you are dropped right in from page 1. There is a lot of characters. This takes place in a small neighborhood, and there is a lot of lies and secrets and things being revealed. And I ate this up. The reason why I gave this only one from Sherry Lapina 5 stars is because I did not guess the twist at the end. In all of the other stories that I've read from her, I have been able to guess what was happening. Now, there may have been moments where I would be continuing to read and I would second guess whether or not I was right, but ultimately I kind of guessed the twist. In this one, didn't see it coming. Hindsight, I think I could have, but I think I was just enjoying this one so much that I wasn't really taking a lot of time to try to figure out what was going on. So I love this. I love the ending of it. Again, I just like that we have so many characters. We found out so many different secrets. Like every few pages, something else was being revealed. We also learned a lot about like this missing woman and some of her secrets. So I don't know. I really enjoyed this one. And so far, this is my favorite Sherry Lapina. So then my last 5-star read that I have to talk about is She Really Going Out With Him by Sophie Cousins. This is a adult romance. I actually ordered a copy from Book of the Month. It was a pick, and so because I read this before I knew what the picks were and I loved it, I went ahead and ordered it. So in this one, we are following this woman, Anna, and she has been recently divorced, and she's living at home with her 2 children, and she is trying to get back on the dating scene. Now, at her job, she is a journalist, a writer, and her boss suggests that in order for her to keep her job, she needs to write some interesting stuff. So they come up with this plan that she is going to have her children pick out dates for her, and those are going to be the topics of her next few articles. And so the story kind of like takes off from there, but there's like an unexpected romance that happens between Anna and one of I don't even want to say that because I don't want to spoil it. There's just an unexpected romance that happens, and I ate this story up. I thought the dates that her children were picking out for her was hilarious. She went on like a hilarious fishing date. She went out with an actor. She went to like this house party with this much younger guy. Anna is like in her mid to late 30s. And so her dates were funny. I loved reading from her kids. And at the beginning of each of the chapters, we have Google searches for her. And her Google searches, the things that she was looking up on the internet was funny. And I also just liked Anna as a character because she's in her 30s. I just felt like I could relate more to her. Now, I couldn't relate to her, you know, being divorced and kind of rebuilding after the divorce, but her getting back into the dating scene, her rebuilding friendships, her and her relationship with her younger sister. I really connected with that because Anna is the oldest sister, and so she's always been the one to be there for her younger sister, but she's at a point in her life where now she has to rely on her younger sister to help her through some tough situations, and I could totally relate to that. And I also liked this romance that she ends up finding herself in. It's a really slow burn. It kind of starts off from like enemies to lovers. Loved it. I ate this story up. This is the second book that I have read from Sophie Cousins that I have rated 5 stars. And so she has quickly become an auto-buy author for me. And I can't wait to get my hands on a physical copy. This is like one of those books that I feel like one day I could actually reread. I don't reread a lot. So for me to say that I could see myself rereading something, that says a lot. I really enjoyed this one. And if you guys are interested, I would highly, highly recommend this romance. So that is all that I have for you guys. Again, I will have my author highlight for Sherry Lapina and my young adult horror books by Black authors. Those 2 videos, I will leave a link down below in case you guys are interested. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.